Hello, my loves. My name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are doing a new reading vlog, and I'm a little bit nervous about this one. So I was, if you've been on my channel before, you will know that I've been doing these like reading vlogs that I pull the prompts out of this jar I made. This is not one of those. This is a specifically selected Wimmy reading vlog. It's Newcastle Pride this weekend. It's currently Wednesday. And I was thinking, like, is there something I want to read around Pride weekend? And there is a book I want to read. It's actually a book I want to reread, but I'm nervous about it. So this is I Will Not Serve by Eveline Mayhere. She was a French author. She died very young. This was published posthumously. I bought this book from my local library for 10 pence. Remember those days? When I was about 12 or 13. And it is the first queer book I ever read. And it also, I particularly love this copy of it because it has this inscription written in it. I think I've spoken about this before on my channel, maybe in a video of books I was recommending for LGBTQ plus History Month. But the reason I bought this book before I even knew that it was queer was because of this inscription that's written in it, which I will read to you now, and I will put some footage up on the screen of it so that you can see it. It says, "Darling Sarah, lots of love and warm wishes for a very happy Christmas, 87. I've been wanting to buy you this for ages. I read it the year I left home, which was when I first slept with a woman, all very symbolic. It's wonderfully intense. Do tell me what you think of it. Love, Caitlin." And that inscription is the first time I remember being really aware that queer people are real and exist in the world, and that is a real thing. That was a real way that people could live. And as a kind of young, early teen who was asking questions about herself, this for me is a deeply personal book that found me at a really, really important and formative time in my life and means a lot to me because of that. So, as I said, I think I was probably more like 13, 14 actually, thinking back. I'm trying to think because I stopped going to that library for a while, so I think I was maybe 13 or 14. And this is a book that is essentially a queer coming of age story about a young rebellious teenage girl called Sylvie who falls in love with her teacher, who is a nun. And I'm going to reread this book in this vlog. And the reason I'm nervous about it is sometimes, you know, when you read a book when you were younger and it meant such a huge amount to you, I'm nervous that I'm going to reread this and not like it as much. However, I never hear anyone talking about this book. I suspect not many people know about it because nobody, even people I know who read a lot of queer classics, has ever even heard of Eveline Mayhere, never mind actually read the book. And I do want to get it out there, but I also want to double check that it is actually a good book and not just a book that if you find it and read it when you are questioning your identity, then it means a lot to you because of that. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I'm recommending this as I want to, I have to know if it's actually a good book or if it just means a huge amount to me. So there is a like 70% chance that I will cry in this video. I will either cry for like nostalgia for baby queer Hannah, or I will like cry because I have ruined a beloved book for myself. The things I do for you. Right. I'm gonna wrap it up there. I am probably not going to start reading it tonight. I think I'm gonna start reading it tomorrow. But I wanted to have filmed this little bit so that if I want to pick it up as soon as I finish work, then I don't have to worry about filming anything. And also because I was feeling this shirt today and I wanted you to see it. Great. Okay. Here we go. Oh, God. Right, let's do it. See you in a bit.
Hi guys and gals, I'm coming to you from the future. I've just filmed a little bit, very, professionally in my pajamas. And I'm coming to you now with content warnings. One specific content warning: there will be discussions of suicide in this video. So just know that that is coming. Okay? Okay. Take care of yourselves. Love you. Bye.
Hi. Sorry, I'm eating my lunch on my bed, as you do. I've just started it. And I forgot how fucking extra Sylvie is. She's so dramatic. So, this is the opening of the book. Gate of heaven, ark of the covenant. Sylvie stopped for a moment with her fountain pen in the air, then went on. Virgin most renowned, I am amazed to find myself writing to you. I had no intention of doing so. I had no intention of doing anything. I accept your decision to be silent, to retire into a fog. Mist veils everything with a soothing charm. But I am no longer your pupil. You are no longer my teacher. Have you, indeed, ever been? What are you doing at that convent teaching mathematics, you who are all music, harmony, youth? Is it because the nuns allow you to play the organ in their church on Sundays and in your free time that you stay there among those old moles? She's trouble, is what she is. Hi. So I read about 40 pages on my lunch break this morning. This lunchtime. I don't think I've broken anything. I am still enjoying it. How much of my enjoyment is clouded by my nostalgia? I honestly couldn't fucking tell you. I don't know. But it's more of it's coming back to me now, because all I really knew was, all I could remember is what I'd told you in the intro clip, that it's about Sylvie and the fact that she's in love with her teacher, who's a nun. So Sylvie's 17, and when the book opens, she's just been expelled from her school, which is a kind of Catholic, like, convent school, basically. Like, she's not a nun in training or anything, but it's a convent school. And she's been expelled because they discovered writings of what is the euphemism they use for it? An undesirable tone of certain of my letters, which is basically they found a letter that Sylvie had written to her cousin about how she was in love with her teacher, who's called Julienne. And so it begins with that, and it's told in a mixture of letters that Sylvie, the opening, as I read to you, is Sylvie writing a letter to Julienne, her teacher. And then you get some diary entries from Sylvie, but you also have a third person narrator. So it's kind of a little bit, you get snatches in Sylvie's own voice, but then you have this kind of third person, and it's great because she's such a teenage girl. It's like, I'm in love with this woman, and it's the end of the world if I cannot speak to her, be near her, see her, be in her presence. And it's incredibly dramatic. But then obviously you bear in mind like the context at the time that she was writing in the 50s. I don't know when she actually wrote it because this was published in 1958, but Eveline Mayhere died in 1957. As I said, it was published posthumously. So in the 50s, I guess, you know, I'm going to give a gay girl license to be extra dramatic about her teenage crushes. But it's really interesting because it's not this kind of icky power dynamic thing. It's very much like Sylvia's kind of the pursuer, and Julienne is like a little bit at first unaware, and then you kind of discover she's not really unaware, and that maybe the feelings are reciprocated, but where Sylvie, in her kind of like, with her, you know, rebellious attitude or whatever, is just leaning into it, Julienne is not leaning into it, and she doesn't want to be having feelings for a student. I don't get the impression at the moment that she's scared of having queer feelings. I think, you know, she's a nun, right? She doesn't want to be having feelings for anybody but Jesus. So it's interesting. It's actually, I was worried that maybe it might lack a little bit of nuance and subtlety. But I don't feel like that so far. There's some bits that were really funny. And the characters do seem to have a sort of like she is a little bit caricatured, but in a kind of lovable way. So I'm gonna crack on reading it now. I don't want to talk too much about it. I just kind of want to read it. I'm gonna like pace myself with it though, because obviously, like I said, I wanted to pick this up for Pride weekend. Now it's only tiny, so if I wanted to, I could sit and read this in one sitting. I kind of don't want to do that. I want to kind of pace it a little bit. But I might check in with you later when I've read a little bit more. Maybe, probably not a full sit down chat. Maybe just like I'll highlight a few bits and do some more kind of like ad hoc filming. But yeah, so far, so good. I'll tell you what I am enjoying about this book. So like, Sylvie's obsessed with Julienne. She loves her. And it was only on page 58 that we get any sense of a physical description of her, and all she says is that her fair hair threw a brightness around her face. It's so not about what they look like. And that is refreshing as fuck. Because I don't know about you, but I don't really give a shit what characters in books look like, and I think a lot of writers waste too much time talking about it. Sylvie has just compared herself to Patroclus, as in
Patroclus and Achilles. So my latest literary conspiracy theory is that Madeline Miller read this book and then wrote the Song of Achilles. It's probably a reach, but I'm planting my flag on this hill. Hello again. So Sylvie and Julien have a met up, and Julien is very annoyed and upset that Sylvie has abandoned her studies. Sylvie and her best friend slash cousin Claude are like idlers. They're incredibly lazy. They don't want to do anything, and it is a deliberate lifestyle choice. And so Sylvie decides to sort of barter with Julien about doing work. So she says, if you promise me to come back in a week's time, I will work during that week. She did not tell me that it was blackmail. She knows too well from having so often reproached me for it at Santaris, that's the school, that as long as I am not sure what I want to do in this world, as long as I have not found a decisive reason for living, I shall do nothing. Or anything I do, I shall do only for her. I have no intention of working in order to become a blue stocking, or the mother of a family, or to buy myself a sewing machine. Rather than just live for the sake of living, I would prefer to spend my time watching flies. But one day I shall know what I live for, and then, if necessary, I'll drudge and toil. I'll kill myself at the task. For the moment, only one thing matters to me. I want her to come back, and she's promised to come back. So I'm going to abandon my diary and work till I'm dropping with sleep. But there's moments like that in the prose where knowing, I can't remember if I said in the intro to this that Eveline Mayhere died by suicide. And so you read things like that, and it's really hard to not be aware of the author's own life and actions. But yeah, I'm pleased that it's holding up. I could definitely sit here and just power through the whole thing, but I think we're gonna stop now and mull, read something else for a little bit, and yeah, catch you later. Prep time. It's chucking it down with rain, but that is not stopping me living my best queer cowboy life. I don't think I got much footage of Pride, but what I got, you will have seen. I didn't even get my great outfit. Imagine it had cowboy boots, and imagine that flag was doing a nice cape situation. I will probably read a little more this afternoon. I probably won't update you, but I have some pals coming over tonight for a lovely, gentle Pride night in. I think the plan is that we're going to watch Heartstopper and get a takeaway. So you may well see some of that now, and then we'll get back to the book tomorrow. My heart is full. Pride was lush. Hey. Sylvie and her best friend Albine are going to a lecture of a woman called Jeanette Collard, who is a traveller. She's been to Nepal, and she's giving a lecture on her travels in Nepal. And Sylvie is reflecting
What were they like, these women who go off to conquer difficult places for no other reason than to pursue the horizon? Which makes me think that Eveline Mayhere may have really liked Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. And possibly Maggie Shipstead may like this book. I read Great Circle recently, in case you're wondering why I'm making the reference. You can, I'll link the vlog down below where I read it. It was my favourite book of the year. Bye. We're in our fields, not our fields, the public land that we walk on. And Lewin is very patiently waiting at his friend's back gate, despite the fact that I've told him that his friend is definitely not home, because I know full well that their owner is away and the dogs are in kennels for the week. And so they're not here. And yet. Lou, they're not there. Darling, I promise you they're not in. They're not there, sweetheart. They're not there. I'm sorry. I mean, it's really fucking wet out, so why wouldn't Lewin make me tramp through the actual grass? Some of which is literally chin high. I'm soggy. I'm having fun. He's naked and freezing right now. I took his dressing gown off. I can't remember if it was the last clip or if I've said something else since. But, you know, when I was like, you read certain parts, and obviously knowing that the author died by suicide at 37, I think she was. 32. It does kind of colour your reading of it. So, Sylvie and Albine are like cooking up this plot because Albine's decided she wants to live like that woman who went off to Nepal. She wants to be a traveller. She wants to go on an adventure. So this is the best friend, not the main character. And Sylvie is helping her like plot for how to do it. And the woman whose name I've forgotten already has said she'll take her with her, but she has to be able to pay her way. So Albine needs money. And she's got an elderly uncle who is quite poorly. And they're talking about going to see him to extract money from him. And I'll just read you the conversation. So it begins with Albine. So, Albine. But why should he give in? Sylvie. Because you're barely 18. If he's written to you, it's because he's got a kind of affection for you. Don't delude yourself. The old are only interested in us because they were once our age. We give them nostalgia. You represent what he can no longer attain. You think that if I go... Oh, we're doing a cold read. Sorry. You think that if I go and see him, he'll say, when I was your age, and he'll feel like he's living all over again. So back to Albine. It's so repulsive, an old man who can't do anything except get older. It's not even as if there were the slightest thing you could admire him for. Sylvie. Well, we haven't got to that stage yet. Personally, I have no intention of making old bones, explained Sylvie. I can't understand anyone daring to live after 30. So what'll you do on your 30th birthday? I shall kill myself. I think there is a reason that I read it, that I read this book and felt like it was so honest. And it's because it's difficult. Yeah. Oh, I am still, despite those
moments. I am enjoying it. I am enjoying it. I will do a proper sit down with you. I'm on page 91. So I'm about 2/3 of the way through. I'll see how we go. I may just keep popping up like this quickly, and then we do one final sit down at the end. Yeah. But equally, I am going to see Barbie today, so maybe we'll have a brief Barbie interlude. And then I'm going to see Oppenheimer tomorrow. So maybe that will be interspersed. Maybe there'll just be like a little bonus bit at the end for anyone who cares to hear me talk about films as well as books. But yeah. Hattie bye.
Yeah, could you give me a sec? He really chooses his moments. Hi. Lou, he's been asleep. And I like get the tripod out and immediately that means he needs to come and like be on my lap. Hello. I finished reading I Will Not Surf by Eveline Mayhere. It's quite late, so I'm sorry about the shadowy face. There's nothing I can do about the fact that I'm being downlit. I mean, there's nothing I could do that I'm currently willing to do. So this is interesting. It's okay. You gonna come up? Okay. And he would be just out of frame, so I can't even use him for good content. Fuck it. Fuck it. Right. I have finished I Will Not Surf by Eveline Mayhere. And it's so interesting how we remember books. Or at least how I remember books. Because for me, this was all about discovering a queer book at a time in my life where I really needed to see that explored. But weirdly, it's not really about that. I mean, obviously Sylvie is in love with another woman and she's having all kinds of identity and existential crises about loving Julienne, but it's never really, she's never struggling to deal with, process, or accept the fact that she's in love with a woman. It's that she's in love with this unattainable person who she can't be with. And that's thank you. That's what she's kind of grappling with more than, so it's not really about being queer. It features a queer character. But it's not actually the main kind of exploration or theme. I guess that was obviously what I was looking for. And obviously with the inscription, I think that definitely like colored my reading of it going into it. The same way that anytime when we've heard someone talk about a book and then we pick it up, we're always kind of approaching it on that slightly already trodden path that person has kind of started to lead us down. So I will say that this is maybe not a massive queer classic. As I said, it is queer, but it's not, if you're looking for something that's very explicitly grappling with that, this is not that book. And actually it's much darker than I remember. There is a lot more suicidal ideation and existential dread. It's okay, not me, baby. Hi. than I remember there being. But again, I wonder if that's not what I was reading the book for the first time I read it, maybe, or maybe it didn't land with me as much now, or maybe as I'm reading it now as someone who has had experience of losing people to suicide, that lands differently now. But yeah, I do really like it. I am struggling to work out how objectively good it is, as much as any book can be described as objectively good ever. um but I do think the writing is quite hyperbolic, and Sylvie as a main character is, she's histrionic and dramatic and ridiculous and impulsive and incredibly self-absorbed, all the things that we so often are as we are kind of approaching young adulthood. And I found it quite charming. I think others may not find it charming, but again, that's just kind of down to the alchemy of it all. But I'm really glad I read it. There's a lot more. I picked up a lot more about religion and philosophy in this than I did at the time, which is interesting because I was considering studying philosophy at the time that I would have been rereading this in my kind of later teens. So I'm surprised I didn't pick up on it. And I did religious studies as an A level. So like I'm very interested about the fact that I didn't really pick up on that the first time round. But as I said, I think other themes were maybe more important to me at that time. I do think there are some great lines in it though. But as I said in a previous clip, I really struggle to divorce my understanding of the author's own life from my reading of this book, and I do think it adds extra weight to it. In particular, not even so much in the character of Sylvie, but her cousin and best friend Claude is a writer, and the three of them, the three friends, Sylvie, Albine, and Claude, are all they're all grappling with their identities and trying to work out how they want to live their lives and what their lives mean, and does it matter if they're not sure? How sure do they need to be? And Claude kind of takes himself off because he's desperately in love with Albine and needs to go and like get over her, so he takes himself off to the country, and he's sort of a writer, and he's kind of stewing with all of these like internal sort of grapplings, and trying to kind of put everything down on paper, and that's how he's trying to like process the world. Albine is off wanting to go and just see the world, and has decided that her experiences are going to be how she lives, who she is. And then you've got Sylvie who really just passionately doesn't want to be conventional and wants to experience her life fully. And the relationship between Sylvie and Julien is really kind of doomed in a way, because they have such different ideas of what a life well lived looks like. And I think all of that is really, it's really interesting the way she explores that, and you see echoes possibly of Eveline Mayhere's own thoughts. I do think sometimes it's not very subtle. in terms of how some of those ideas are explored through the characters. And it's possible, I mean, I'm not an expert in her life, but that some of it is only thinly veiled personal experience. What I would love to see, and in fact, I would love to write this, but I think a French person needs to write it. So if you are a French screenwriter and you want to like explore this with me, hit me up. I think this would be ripe for Hours style film that explores Eveline Mayhere's life and the writing of this book and this book, because I think there are so many parallels. And actually, even though this is technically just the straightforward like fiction of the story, my experience of rereading it, knowing everything that I know about her life, reminded me of reading The Hours, and watching the film. I particularly would like to see a film of this, I think. But yeah, so hit me up if you want to write that, because I think that would be fun. So yeah, that is I Will Not Serve. I do recommend it. I do recommend it if you're interested. It's only like a short little thing. You could easily read it in one sitting. I really kind of dragged it out for really kind of no reason, but I dragged it out. You wouldn't have to, and I do recommend it. So that's nice, and I think I will revisit it again. I will not leave it so long next time, maybe. I did go to the cinema. Did I tell you? I did tell you I was going to the cinema. So I have now seen both Barbie and Oppenheimer. This is a booktube channel. I'm not going to go into detail about the films. I really liked Barbie. Very, very funny. I think Greta Gerwig did such a good job, and Noah Baumbach, actually, they wrote it together, I think, did such a great job with the story, because that was the thing that I was really worried about with the Barbie film. Like, not even like the politics of it, or like what points about society may or may not be made. I was just worried about like whether or not I would be like interested in a narrative about Barbie, and I really was, so that was great. I do think it's almost impossible, a bit like how Barbie has to be everything to all, and has struggled with that. I think this film is going to struggle because lots of people are going to want it to be lots of things. I wish that there had been some more nuance to some of the exploration of gender roles, although I do think on the whole it was really interesting and really well crafted. I always think a kind of like over-reliance on just like the patriarchy is a bit, I would have liked to for it to be delved into a little bit more, but equally like kids see this film, so like fuck it. That's just my perspective on like what I would have liked to see a bit more of. And incredibly unfeministly, I would have liked more of Ken, because I think Margot Robbie was fantastic, but Ryan Gosling as Ken was just absolutely sublime. Like what a performance. And then I saw Oppenheimer this morning, and like, oh, that's the best film I've seen this year. Like, outstandingly good. Like that, it's like Christopher Nolan got the zeitgeist of Oppenheimer and filleted it down to the bone. There was not a bit of flesh left. Everything had been picked over, and cinematically extraordinary. The structure was brilliant. Performances incredible. So that has been I Will Not Serve, and briefly some cinema. Do let me know if you've read this book before, if you've heard of it, if you have any beloved kind of classics that you read as a kid that you've been maybe like unsure about revisiting. If you've got any books that you read that were just like absolutely right time, right place books, I would love to know what those are in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this and you want to stick around for future videos, do subscribe to my channel. That would be lovely, particularly if you came here because of the kind of queer content. We're having a whole Heartstopper Fest in August. I'm incredibly excited, so stick around for that. And yeah, it's been lovely to... I've thrown a pencil on the floor. It's been lovely to re-explore this book. Thank you for coming along on the journey with me, and I will catch you again soon. Bye.